What's up, guys? It's Jensen and welcome to another video. So, rumors have been swirling about how Karl-Anthony Towns might not be happy in Minnesota. And if Karl-Anthony Towns really isn't happy in Minnesota, I think Minnesota has to get rid of him right away. Because you look at their roster right now, and there are a ton of bad contracts on there, like Andrew Wiggins and Gorgie Jang. And especially the Andrew Wiggins contract, that was a really bad contract. We all know Andrew Wiggins was a very inefficient player who didn't really play defense when he signed that contract. And he's been virtually the same player. I know he's been better this year, but still, he's not the type of player that's going to develop into a multi-time All-Star. So giving him a max contract was an absolute mistake by Minnesota. And that's a contract that's really going to kill him. And on top of that, we know that no free agent's going to really want to sign with Minnesota. Because first of all, it's a small market. And second of all, they don't really have any real cap space as well as the opportunity to add any real big-time players. So really the only chance for Minnesota to really improve is if they hit some lottery luck and maybe get a high draft pick. But even that seems unlikely because with Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, they're going to be good enough so that they won't be able to have a legitimate chance at a top 5 pick. So that's where things are at for Minnesota. It makes all the sense in the world for them to deal Karl-Anthony Towns away right now, in my opinion. Because the last thing you want is to be in mediocrity for the next couple years, only for Karl-Anthony Towns to demand a trade with 1 year left, and you're going to get a mediocre return, or at least something significant less than what you would really want, like Anthony Davis being dealt away from New Orleans. Even though they got a good package in return for Anthony Davis, we all know that if Anthony Davis was being dealt a couple years ago, he would have gotten them a much bigger return. So Minnesota should look at that, and they shouldn't make the same mistake. They should deal him right away. And I really feel like New York is a good place to deal him. The two teams that have been connected to Karl-Anthony Towns in the trade rumors have been the Golden State Warriors and the New York Knicks. But if you're the Golden State Warriors, they can't really offer anything much other than D'Angelo Russell. I mean, they're not going to deal with Steph Curry or Klay Thompson or Draymond Green most likely. So it really is just D'Angelo Russell and a bunch of insignificant pieces. So you look at New York, they have a ton of pieces that they could offer. And I really feel like the New York Knicks really need Karl-Anthony Towns right now. So my projected trade would be that the Knicks would receive Karl-Anthony Towns, Jordan Bell, and Naz Reid in exchange for giving the Minnesota Timberwolves Marcus Morris, RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, plus a couple of first-round picks. Now, let's look at the Minnesota Timberwolves return to start. Obviously, Marcus Morris, he's an expiring contract. I don't really think they'd want to keep him around. I mean, he's a good player, but I think that Marcus Morris would want to play at a contender, so he really is just a salary filler for this trade. But you look at RJ Barrett, even though he struggled this year, I still think he could be a multi-time All-Star. I don't know if he could be the number 1 option on a championship team, but definitely a number 2 or number 3 option on a championship team if he develops. He certainly has a bright future. And Mitchell Robinson is the perfect player to take over for Karl-Anthony Towns. This guy is very underrated. He's always among the league leaders in blocks ever since he's been in the league. And he gets a lot of rebounds and second chance points. I think that he could be the starting center for Minnesota for the next decade. And I think he could be kind of the DeAndre Jordan of this decade. And that's certainly a valuable player in my opinion. He would be a good get for Minnesota. But then you look at the extra first-round picks they'd be getting. I think New York would have to add their first-round pick for 2020 unprotected. So you look at what that pick could potentially net Minnesota. They could probably get one of the top point guards in the draft, because even if New York gets Karl-Anthony Towns by the trade deadline, it's still not going to be enough to be able to help the New York Knicks get out of the bottom of the NBA standings. So it should still net them a pretty good player. If they're able to add a guy like Cole-Anthony or LaMelo Ball to lead the team, then that would certainly be a nice piece. Not to mention that Minnesota's first-round pick would also decrease in value in this trade, because when you lose a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns, you're almost certain to definitely go down the standings. You're going to lose a lot of games. But for Minnesota, that would be very helpful because they'd be able to improve their own first-round pick. So this trade could only help Minnesota, in my opinion. Now, why does it make sense for New York? It's pretty easy to be. Because you look at the New York Knicks, they've been a dumpster fire. They fired David Fizdale a couple weeks ago. They're just right now in a ton of pieces, and it's dysfunctional there. So no free agent's going to really want to come to the New York Knicks, as we saw with Kevin Durant. I mean, he didn't really even consider the Knicks. So if you're the New York Knicks, you're going to have to get someone via trade, in my opinion. And Karl-Anthony Towns, despite his defensive struggles, this guy has a chance to be a potential MVP someday. I think he has a chance to be one of the best centers in the league, if not the best center, if he improves his defense. So you get a guy like that, Karl-Anthony Towns, a potential MVP, and especially the fact that he was a Knicks fan growing up. He was raised in New Jersey. He is a big-time Knicks fan. I mean, if Karl-Anthony Towns is happy in New York and they start winning some games, then when the 2021 free agency comes around and guys like Giannis and Kawhi are on free agency, definitely if you're the New York Knicks and your pitch is to come play with Karl-Anthony Towns in the biggest city in the United States, are free agents really going to say no? I mean, someone's going to sign with the Knicks and they're going to become a big-time contender. So if you're the New York Knicks, this is an opportunity to be able to help sell other free agents to come to New York and play with Karl-Anthony Towns. Well, already having Karl-Anthony Towns a potential MVP candidate. Obviously, Jordan Bell and Naz Reid, maybe they turn into something, maybe not. It's not about them. They're really just fillers to help this trade work. But it's about Karl-Anthony Towns. And if you're the New York Knicks, you should pounce on this opportunity. Even though you're giving up multiple draft picks and some of your prized young players, this makes all the sense in the world for the Knicks. But we'll see how this goes. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Please like and subscribe. I'll be proud of you for our NBA and NFL hot takes as the season goes on. And have a good day.